you so much for joining us on the penultimate stop in the journey of the umbrella. For those of you that have joined us throughout this journey, you'll know that we have stopped at each of these areas to look at what we as Sicon can do with our ecosystem of modules for Sage 200. Throughout this journey, what we've essentially done is marketed, sold, and we've created opportunities for our umbrella. And that's kind of a insert your product here. We call it the Sicon journey of the umbrella, but ultimately it's whatever you sell or it's whatever service you provide and all of the steps along the way that we can support you with. So right through from opportunity to managing all of the documentation to then planning for the delivery of that item to manufacturing it to actually physically delivering it as a project, potentially in a construction environment with all of the approvals along the way and some of the supporting modules for distribution, for the purchasing of our products, for the selling of our products, for the movement of our stock, supported by all of the Sicon financial modules along the way to manage that financial process. And now we're into that final kind of step really of delivering our solution. And that for us is Sicon Barcoding and Warehousing. Now, clearly, we've been able to use Sicon Barcoding and Warehousing throughout that journey. And for those of you that have joined us throughout this journey, you'll see me using barcoding and warehousing via projects in manufacturing, alongside construction, certainly alongside distribution. And that's where barcoding and warehousing really encompasses everything that we do, because we have multiple touch points throughout that journey. So we're going to look at Sicon Barcoding and Warehousing today, and we're going to cover warehouse management, stock accuracy, real-time inventory management, and stock movements and traceability. But let's talk a little bit more about where it fits for you as a customer, manufacturing and distribution, anyone that's stock heavy. But we also have construction-based organisations which are receiving stock on site, which they're using barcoding for. We also have organisations which aren't actually using stock, where they're using free text items, where they want a remote person to be able to receive that purchase order in. We have organisations which aren't using barcodes at all, but are still using barcoding and warehousing to manage warehouse movement. So whatever the stage of the journey of barcoding and warehousing, whether you're new to barcoding and warehousing, where you've never used it before, whether or not you're replacing an existing solution, or whether or not you're relatively advanced and looking for a solution to support you that integrates more with Sage and indeed with the other Sicon solutions, then we have a solution for you. We're just going to pop ourselves into my Sage environment, where you'll see Sage sitting over here, and you'll see our barcoding and warehousing device sitting over here on the right-hand side. The particular device that I'm using, questions that are asked all the time, I'm using a Sicon device. It's an Android device. It's about the size of an iPhone 11, sits in the palm of your hand, got a built-in barcode scanner, a docking station that sits in the back. But ultimately, it's an Android device. It is you as a customer, you as a business partner, and your recommendations to your customers. It's an Android device. We can give you some recommendations. We'll tell you what the best one to use is, but ultimately it's your choice in terms of hardware. So long as it's Android, we're pretty much okay with that. If you need to send any recommendations through to us first, just second guess them and have a little look at them for you, happy to do that for you. But recommended hardware is also on the website as well, so you'll be able to go in and have a little look at that. And the beautiful thing about our barcoding and warehousing solution is it is supported by the Sicon API that is effectively moving data live from Sage onto the device. There's no separate database for it. It ultimately means that you have a live connection from anywhere that you deploy barcoding and warehousing just via Wi-Fi, so that your guys can then see stock, move stock, receive stock, dispatch stock, and do lots more with some of the other Sicon modules along the way. So to display that for you and to give you a little bit of a showcase of how that happens, I've actually created a brand new stock item this morning. It's my Sicon screwdriver set to fix the umbrella. Ultimately, we're going to sell some umbrellas. We're going to make some umbrellas. We're going to move those umbrellas around our business. But this particular one is a brand new item, which currently I don't have any stock of. So in order to showcase what barcoding and warehousing does, I'm going to put a purchase order on to receive that in. And I'm also going to put a sales order on to be able to pick it, pack it and dispatch it. That's raw, basic movement of stock. And we'll do everything that we need to do along the way. Okay, so let's just do exactly that first. Let me show you a little bit more about the stock item itself, because of course, when we switch on barcoding and warehousing, there's a menu that sits inside of Sage, ultimately gives you a stack of things that you're going to be able to achieve. But we also switch on some functionality in core Sage behind the stock item. So let's just have a little look at that first. And you'll see in here that I have created my locations, and I've said it sits in the warehouse, and the bin location that it sits in within the warehouse is AC10A. There is an import to be able to bring in planned warehouse structure. You could start with an upstairs and a downstairs. Some of our customers do. If you already have a relatively evolved warehouse that has its own bin locations, aisles, columns, etc., then again, they can be imported in, and each of those locations can be imported in against the appropriate stock items. The bin location itself has a definition to determine whether or not you're going to use it as a default pick face bin or maybe as a bulk storage area. There's also inspection bins and the concept of being able to manage my warehouse by bin location. Ultimately, we want to know where to put it and where to get it from. And that's exactly what barcoding and warehousing facilitates for us. We also don't have to hold any stock behind that bin location to define it as a bin location. And we can have one or multiple bin locations. Again, we'll come back to that in just a second. I'm also supporting my journey today with Sicon documents. So if I go in and actually view my documents, you'll see that we've got a product image and a product specification, which I'm also going to use when we send out our purchase order. So when we go into distribution, I've said, take that product image with it when it's a purchase order, take that product image with it when it's a sales order acknowledgement, and all of those wonderful things. We also have some settings that are specific to barcoding and warehousing. So do I want to produce a label on goods received? What does that label look like? There's a stack of labels which have been pre-configured for you to be able to choose from. In the barcoding settings, a number of settings, which I'm not going to bore you with every single one of them today, but the reality is that, of course, it is a very configurable solution based on the settings that we display for you. All of these can be seen in the help and user guide. And as you embark on a barcoding and warehousing project, our team, our product owner who's on the call today, Chris Everett, would obviously be able to help you. Our consultants will be able to help you. We as a sales team will be able to help you in understanding what settings to switch on to support your business and how you want to do things. Of course, I've also decided who my supplier is, but one of the key things to this is that I don't need to decide or store what the barcode is for that item at this point. I can teach the system what the barcode is for it just by receiving it in. So if we just go in and edit that particular supplier, you'll see that there is a barcode by supplier, and you can have multiple barcodes. So multiple barcodes that would all potentially look at a single SKU. I have no barcode at the moment for it, so I'm going to teach it what that barcode is just by receiving it in when I put on a purchase order. So into purchase order processing. Along the way, you'll see me adding some documents using Sicon documents. You might also see me using some of the distribution solutions that we have. And we're just going to pop ourselves in and put on a brand new purchase order for D'Souza. And there it is. I'm just going to add our item in. And of course, that's going to be for my screwdriver set to fix an umbrella. And we're going to receive it into the warehouse, and we're going to have 10 of them. Goes my price. Stack of information down here to do with our distribution solution. So if I wanted to add this to a container, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because you're also going to see functionality inside of barcoding and warehousing for me to be able to receive a container. So again, other solutions from the Sicon portfolio to support you or your customer's business. We're just going to say save to that. We're just going to have a single item. Of course, we could have multiple. We're going to keep ours really simple today. I've also got Sicon documents asking me for a quote. So I will indeed put a quick quote on here. So any document will do. And there's my quote added to my purchase order. Let's just make sure that we're going to receive that in today. Give it a reference, just make it all nice and tidy. And we're going to have purchase order 5361 that now needs to be receipted. We may as well do the Sicon documents thing while we're here, just so that you can see the whole journey of all of that happening, because you're going to see me goods receipt it, and you're going to see me take a picture of the goods receipt as well, which we're also going to then be able to see using Sicon documents back to our purchase order. So we may as well just pop ourselves in to print it. And we'll just do our one, and we'll use the Sicon documents to email and archive it, and it will take with it any supporting documentation, the image, the specification that I'm holding behind that stock item, and it will also take your header pages, your backgrounds, your T's and C's with it too. And mine's going to pop onto the screen for me, show me my nicely formatted email. You can have HTML and all sorts in there. But as you can see down here, there are some attachments which I attach to the stock item, and they will take it with it. We're just going to say send to that, so off it will go. That's now done, and it has also now archived that to my purchase order. So that's my first or second document actually in that journey. So we now got a live purchase order of 5361, and therefore over here, right hand side of the screen, when we go in to receive our purchase orders, you should see that we will have our purchase order 5361 for D'Souza Limited. That will load itself onto the screen, as you can see. At this point, you know I don't have a barcode for it, so I'm going to scan the barcode, and it will then tell me that barcode isn't recognized. The barcode is on the screwdriver set that I've just scanned. I've never scanned that barcode before, so it will say, is it for something that's on this purchase order? I'm just going to say yes to that, tell it it's for the umbrella screwdriver set. Now it knows that barcode, and it has now stored it against the supplier inside of the stock item so that it knows what it is moving forward. We're going to scan our barcode again, and of course it now knows it. So you see the count in the middle of the screen going up accordingly, having read that barcode. I can use the plus and minus buttons to move that forward. I can type the quantity in. We are fully supportive of traceability as far as Sage is concerned. So if I am receiving in an item that is batch or serialized, it would of course prompt me to store the batch code. If you are using a complex barcode or a GS1 barcode, then again, we're fully supportive of those as well. And it means that we can read multiple pieces of information from a single barcode. So it may have the quantity, the serial number. It may also be that there's a batch number, and that against that batch number, there might also be a sell by date or a use by date that we also want to be able to store, all held within a single scan. No problem if you're not using complex barcodes. You can have multiple barcodes for different things. For me, I would have a product barcode. I might have a barcode that represents the batch number. I can type in the quantity, or I can continue to scan, and we can force people to scan. So I could say, I don't want you to be able to type in the quantity. I want you to scan the barcode for complete accuracy, so there's no double keying or double entry for any issues that we have or mistakes that we've made. And then I can type in the quantity once I've scanned the first 1 or 2 or 5 or whatever my restriction is. And that's all controlled against our barcoding and warehousing solution, against the people settings, so our user settings for each person as to whether or not you force them to scan or not. Again, now we go live. Again, we're going to use Sicon documents. Bottom left hand corner, you'll see there's a little camera image. We're just going to open that camera. So that image is now stored against my purchase order. Bottom right hand corner, then going to receive it in. So obviously we've got some choices here. As we know, in the settings inside of Sage, I can determine whether or not a label should be printed at that point, but I can also choose to print a label. I've got then 2 choices, either confirm receipt or confirm receipt direct to bin. Now I'm just going to do a confirm receipt. In goes the GRN number, and we're going to receive those things in. By confirming it, what it will effectively do is update my purchase order with having now been received, and the stock will not be sitting in the designated bin yet. It's now going to be in a new bin, which we've then created, called goods in. And if we just pop ourselves back into our purchase order. So as you can see, that's now been received. When we go in and view the documents, we've now got 3 documents to see. We've got the original copy of the quote that we attached, the order that we sent out, and now a lovely picture of the Sicon offices taken at goods receipt, all of which is now visible inside of Sage against my purchase order. If we look at this from the stock perspective, as you can see in here, when we go in and actually view the history of that item, you can see what we've done today so far. So that receipt of our purchase order, and you can see in here where it's gone into goods in, having just done a goods receipt, so not directly to bin. You've got both options. Again, if we just pop into the locations, just to display that for you, you can see indeed that we've created that new bin location of goods in. That has a bin definition of 6, which is our put away bin, and that's the next thing that we're going to do. But we're not going to do it just yet. So I want you to see how dynamic the movement is of this stock without you having to do anything inside of Sage. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put a quick sales order on. So into sales order processing and into my sales order list, knowing that that stock is with us but currently resides against the goods in location. One more thing, actually, before I go and put a sales order on, I'm just going to pop us back into that stock list just so that you can see in the suppliers that I'm not lying, and that actually when we go in and edit that and we look at the barcode against the supplier, this barcode that we've stored is now present for me. So I don't have to start with a nicely formatted warehouse with all of my barcodes present in the system. I can teach the system all about it throughout my working life, and that is actually very key for lots of our customers. Now we're going to go in, we're going to put a quick sales order on. So in we go. My customer, these guys at Acme, would like some of this stock, so let's put Acme in here. For those of you that have been joining me through the distribution demonstrations and showcases, our little satellite series, you'll know that some of these screens are as a result of SOP management being switched on. So I've got some undispatched sales orders in there. This is one from our enhancement pack, which is our customer pop-ups. This again from distribution. So I've got a lot of things switched on, guys. You don't have to switch everything on. We're just going to go in and add our item in, which of course is going to be for our screwdriver set. And there it is. And we're just going to put a quick quantity in here of 2. We've got them, of course, so we're going to be allocating them, and then we're just going to sell them for an exorbitant price, make some margin, and click save to that. Okay, in my sales order, I have 2 things which are specifically switched on from barcoding and warehousing. One of them is this little baby at the top called ready to pick. The other one is to assign it to a picker. So use case to assign to a picker may well be that you have different people in your warehouse assigned to do different types of role. So it could be that you've got somebody that can drive a forklift truck, for instance, that is a picker that would be required to pick this item. It might also be that you've got somebody that operates in a different temperature zone, for instance. So you might want to say this particular order is assigned to these pickers. These pickers are your barcoding and warehousing users. They're not Sage users. And therefore it would only appear in their list to pick. I'm not going to choose anybody specific. This one here called ready to pick is actually a way of being able to define whether or not the pick list is available on the device and at what stage. So for me, I've got it set to automatic, and it means that at the point at which I put my sales order on, if everything is allocated, it will then automatically say that order's ready to pick. So it's going to tick that box automatically for me. You could have it so that you can do part dispatches. You can have it so that you can assign the ready to pick yourself. And there's also a utility in barcoding and warehousing that enables me to do exactly that. Go in, look at a predefined list of sales order items and set the ready to pick flags on those which we say is the pick list for today. Or you can decide not to use it at all. Absolutely your choice. For me, it is going to set that to be ready to pick. So we, of course, are going to go in and say save to that. Again, enhancement pack for my back-to-back. I also have some other bits and pieces switched on, but the most important thing is that this is now sales order 6686, which is going to be ready for dispatch for me. Again, Sicon projects coming into play. You might have noticed the little tick box went on automatically for me. That's exactly what I'm expecting to happen. And the very last thing I'm going to do here just before we move on is I'm going to just refresh my list, and I'm going to take that sales order and send out the order acknowledgement, again using Sicon documents. So again, we've got this nicely well-rounded single store of all documents. So again, we're just going to take our one for today and email and archive. And again, any supporting documentation from the stock item is also taken with it. It's just going to pop it up on the screen for me rather than send it out automatically. There's my supporting documentation. So off that goes. Now we've got a sales order to dispatch. And then, of course, we're going to have sales order 6686. In this list of sales orders, I've got quite a few. But I can filter that down where we can search for the order, we can scan the barcode for the order, we could go in and use the filter button that's on the right-hand side to just filter for sales orders for a particular customer, for a particular country of origin within a particular analysis code. There's my sales order 6686 for Acme. We're just going to pop ourselves in there, and you're going to see that I've got 4 columns effectively switched on: information, pick it, pack it, dispatch it. In the information column, you're going to be able to see some of those analysis codes that we've spoken about. You're also going to be able to see information regarding who the customer is, the quantity to pick, the total charge. We've added some bits and pieces in there to give that level of information to the guys in the warehouse. My pick list now shows me the item that I need to pick and where I need to pick it from. And currently those items are in goods in, and we know that. However, if we move that, because that's exactly what we're going to do next, okay, so we're not going to dispatch this, we're not going to pick this. What we're actually going to do is come out of that screen now, and we're going to go back in to put away the stock. And having already produced our pick list, if we were doing this in standard Sage, we'd have to reproduce our pick list after the stock movement. So we'll just search for our item, which is our Sicon screwdriver set, which is sitting at the bottom. And as you can see, I've predefined the bin location that I'd like it to go to. So we're going to have 10 of those moving to AC10A. Clearly, I could scan the barcode to move it. We're just simply going to select the bin location as AC10A and confirm that movement. And the significant thing about this screen is that you can also see any allocations. So the 10 that I'm moving are 8 free stock and 2 which are allocated. I don't have to do anything with that. I can move it and it will take that allocation with it. And that's the significant thing about what I was looking to show you today, because now we're going to move that to AC10A. We're going to confirm the movement, print any labels that we need to, go back in to dispatch our sales order. We're not even going to second guess it and look at it inside of Sage. We're just going to go straight back in to our 6686 sales order, where you'll see in our pick list that has dynamically changed to AC10A. So we can now go ahead and pick those items. So we're just going to pick 2 of those. They now go into the next stage that I've got switched on, which is pack. Like I say, I've got a pick it, pack it, dispatch it functionality going on. At the point at which we pick it or pack it, I can also say whether or not I want to pack it to a box or a pallet or a tote or a vehicle. And as you can see in here, I have my bags, boxes, pallets, containers, vehicles and totes available to be selected. However, for the purpose of today's exercise, we won't. Again, bottom left-hand corner, if I wanted to take a picture of the condition of the item as it left us, as it was packed, as it was picked, I can do that too. And again, you get to see the lovely Sicon offices one more time. I'm just going to pop back into Sage, into my sales order, and I'm just going to view it. Because what I want you to be able to see in here is that because it's completely live to the system, you'll see at the top of the screen that it's currently telling me that this order is being picked by Michelle. And again, without all of my distribution things being switched on, you'll also notice an additional warning that tells me that this live sales order has not yet completed that process. And the sales order includes items which have been picked, but not yet packed, and therefore not yet dispatched. We also add this new column in, so picked. Picked effectively is the stage that it's currently at. And of course, once it goes into a stage of picked, we'd also be able to see that against the stock item as that stock currently sitting in a picked location. So we're seeing everything live within our system. As you can see, now going to go in and complete that process by dispatching that item. And again, all of my supporting documentation, print our pack list. The other thing to note here is, again, we also have a solution for couriers. Ultimately, if you are going to use couriers, we have a number of existing courier connections. You can check that out on the Sicon website as to which ones are current. We would then talk to the API, effectively allowing the label to be produced and the instruction to come and get it to be carried out. If we do use a courier, we are then also able to see the tracking number and the consignment number and the service that we used against the dispatch of that item all directly inside of Sage. There'll be another little session completely on courier for you to look at as well. For the purpose of today's exercise, we're going to choose no courier. And we're just going to dispatch that sales order away. That'll update Sage for me. So the little green banner that appears at the top of the screen is your indication that's now been done. And when we look at that back inside of Sage, you'll see that it has indeed been fully dispatched. It's now ready for invoice, and any supporting documentation that we captured throughout that process is visible for us to be able to see against the sales order if we have a Sicon documents license to be able to see that level of detail. So a couple of things to look at. There you can see it has indeed been fully dispatched. If we go in and actually view the item, you'll also notice that we have the ability for us to be able to see one or multiple dispatches and who did it. So everything is time and date stamped effectively with that activity and the user that did it. This is where you'd be able to see that courier shipment ID, tracking number, the courier and the service. You'd also be able to look at the courier labels or create the courier label from here. But that tells me it was Michelle that did that. So as we close out of that screen, we're just going to pop ourselves back in to view the documents. And again, remember our order acknowledgement that went out, any supporting documentation that was attached, and again, any images that were taken of my process throughout barcoding and warehousing.
We also attached the dispatch note there. So on that screen, we had the photo and the dispatch note that went out as well.
Worth noting as well, because once that's been done, we're then feeding that information back to the sales order so that potentially the dispatch note can be viewed but also used later on in the process of supporting documentation. Okay, back to our device one more time. If we just pop ourselves back into the menu options, we're just going to run ourselves through these menu options a little bit. As we know, receiving of a purchase order, we've done that. Receiving of a container is exactly that. It means that I can use the container management module in Sicon distribution to collectively put things together and monitor their progress along the water before it actually gets to us. With the addition of pre-allocations as well, it means that I can reserve stock throughout its route on a container. When it then comes to us and is then received in via the container, so it's literally going to receive everything on a container by supplier, it would then take care of the pre-allocation for me. If you're not using container management, pre-allocations will also do all of those things for you as well in standard purchase order processing and sales order processing. So it ultimately means that it will complete the process for me. So on goods receipt, it will take care of the pre-allocation and automatically allocate that to my sales order or works order if you're using that. On a container, I can receive everything in and I can take a picture of the entire shipment. Put away stock, we've covered. That's effectively, it goes into goods in, we then put it away, and I've got a huge amount of stuff and stock sitting in my goods in. What's really nice about that though is that I can also see what that stock is defined for. Is it free stock? Is it a works order? And as you can see, any allocations are also present against that. So we can see that level of detail. Go back to our menu. We also have the concepts of waves. We can do wave picking, we can do wave putaways. It collectively means that we can put things together to do them all at one time. They are options, you don't have to use them. If I was to go into my dispatch of a sales order and I had multiple sales orders to a singular address from a singular client, it would suggest to me that I should do a wave. It's a setting that you can switch on. I'm just going to go back to the menu one more time. The inspection of stock is quite a key one. Shed load of stuff in AC10A that needs inspecting. My 10 GLD is a good example. And we're just going to pass those. And then we can present in the inspection a number of questions. And we're just going to pass those. And I'm just going to pop myself back into Sage just so that you can actually see what's happened with that inspection. Again, there's a little bit of setup required in the background to determine where it moves to and from. But if we're just going to pop ourselves into the history, you'll see our inspection pass sitting up here. And if we just go in and show the details, you can see the answers to my questions entered on the device, all present inside of the system for me. And of course, who passed it. Because we are storing that level of detail, because we know who dispatched it, because we know who picked it, we know what time that happened, then we can also present that information into some pretty intelligent little dashboards. So as part of barcoding and warehousing inside of Sage, we have the concept of dashboards. They're just effectively SQL queries. I'll make that sound really simple because I don't have to write them. So you can see the number of dispatches that Michelle has done, the number of picks that Michelle has done, the number of picks that was done this week, number of orders outstanding by customer. These are examples of the type of things that you can achieve. And if you want to present that level of information together with KPIs, for instance, again, more than possible. There are a number of these that come out of the box, and then if you go into your general dashboards, you can create additional ones with multiple panels, and these can get really intelligent. They're quite powerful. So again, a quick and easy way for individuals to be able to monitor what's going on in the warehouse. Back to our menu option one more time, because a couple of the things which are really key to what we use barcoding and warehousing for. Obviously, I could cover an awful lot in here today, but the ability for me to be able to add stock, as an example, is a great way of you being able to see live stock information. And as you can see, that particular item is a manufactured item. And it means that if I add stock of it, it will go through the process of backflushing it. And we're just going to add that in. So adding stock will automatically go through the process of backflushing. That was so simple inside of barcoding and warehousing, but I want to show you what the net effect of it was when we go back to Sage. So we're just going to pop ourselves back into my stock list. It's going to go into Sicon Super Duper Umbrella this time. There's my Super Duper Umbrella. And we're just going to go into the history of that item. As you can see, that add stock has resulted in a works order finished item being created. So my bomb build has been done off of the back on the 7th of November on the back of works order 561, which is now completed. We're just going to pop ourselves in for anybody that is manufacturing related. We just pop ourselves in here into my works order list. We should see our most recent one, our Sicon Super Duper Sicon Umbrella, completely backflushed, therefore downdating all of the stock of your component parts, updating the stock of your finished item, all by selecting the item to add stock in barcoding and warehousing. I think that's super powerful. Back to our menu list once more. If we go in and look at works orders by themselves, and again, I've got a stack of them, but that fully reflects what I'm able to see inside of Sage. And it means that I can actually follow that process through. So rather than back flushing, I can go in, I can see each line to be picked, I can pick it, issue it, and put my finished item in at the end. And that again will be automatically reflected inside of Sage. Back to our menu list one more time. There is a full backflush works order utility in here. Adding stock is my favorite, as you can probably tell. But the more distribution related things, in fact, any company that's managing stock, of course, stocktakes is a huge part of that. We are able to go in and do a standard Sage stocktake, or we have our own version of a stocktake called a dynamic stocktake. When you set up a stocktake inside of Sage, so your Sicon stocktakes, they will be presented to the users on the handheld device. Just to show you an example, the bin locations will then pop up and show me those things that need to be counted within that bin. It'll then add that information back into Sage for you to then be able to accept the adjustments. So we've confirmed our bin counts. It really is as simple as that. The dynamic stocktake is designed for you to be able to do it on the fly. So I'm the supervisor, I've got half an hour to spare. I'm going to create myself a quick dynamic stocktake for an item. Here's my 10 GLD one more time. I'm going to go in and do the dynamic stocktake. As you can see, we found more stock than we had. We can present the counts or hide the counts. We can do all of those things. And if we do hide the counts and your user counts way less, I actually ended up writing off around 47,000 kettles the last time I did this, but then I actually entered in a tolerance that they weren't allowed to go beyond. So it means that the user would then be told, sorry, that's outside of the tolerance that's acceptable. Go and count that bin again. So again, all of that information is coming back into Sage. So if we go in and look at the history of our pencil skirt one more time, as you can see, the dynamic stocktake has added 3 items into stock into bin location AC10A. So again, completely live. One more thing that I particularly like, if we go into the stock inquiry, because this is completely live to Sage, it means that I can do a stock item inquiry, I can do a bin location inquiry, I can do a traceable item inquiry. Now, most people that are actually doing this wouldn't necessarily have the item in their hand, wouldn't be actually scanning a barcode. They're looking to see where the stock is. And in this particular instance, as you can see, it shows you a little bit of information about the stock item. Bottom left-hand corner shows you an image. That image can be presented in the picking stage as well against the sales order. So for full accuracy, have I picked the right thing? It's more than possible. It'll then show you all the bins that kettle is sitting in. And not only that, and this is the one that I think is really powerful, it'll also show you what's allocated in that bin. So if you've got an engineer that's out on the road and he comes in and he wants some stock, a quick look in the stock inquiry here will tell him whether or not that stock that is sitting on the shelf is usable or not, or already allocated to somebody else. And from a warehouse management perspective, if we want to see what orders are coming in, I can also see any purchase orders which are due. There's lots more that we could talk about, guys. We've really only scratched the surface of barcoding and warehousing. So just to complete our little process today, we have a solution for barcoding and warehousing which fits any customer at any stage of their journey into creating an environment where the warehouse becomes an operating unit that is live to Sage. It's quick to deploy, easy to use, live to Sage, reduces the amount of errors, increases stock accuracy, and makes life a whole lot easier for a whole lot of our customers.